Hey, it's Chirag here with my Christmas jumper on. I'm joined by Charlotte Candy, one of the UK leading risk management professionals. What we're doing today is it's our Christmas gift to you. We're showing you how to run a QSRA in a short piece of training. So Charlotte, please, let's get into it. Talk us through the steps to perform a QSRA.
Okay, so first things first, we need to understand, why are we doing this QSRA? Are we trying to understand whether we're going to be able to achieve a possession date because we've got a tight window? Is it because we need to understand how late the project's going to be to inform management, or is it to inform contingency? Key thing is to understand why you're doing it. Then, as obviously quantitative schedule risk analysis implies, we need a schedule. Now, this is where we need to find a scheduler in your project team who has an intense knowledge of what the project's actually going to do. And they need to give you a detailed schedule. So not so detailed that we can't manage it. So it doesn't need to be 2,000 lines. It can be 300-400, but the more detail that's relevant, the better. But we need to check the quality, and this would be, does it have open-ended tasks? Does it have constraints? Because if a task is constrained, we're never going to get anywhere. This isn't going to move anything along. And that's just the first step, getting the schedule ready. Moving on, we need to get our risks, because what's a risk model without risk management involved? What we would need there is a quantified risk register. So this needs to be quantified using the project team, the schedulers, as many SMEs that are relevant to the project delivery. And then you've got your two major components there. Once we've gone to that stage, we need to start understanding about our duration uncertainty, how much more information we need about how confident we are in achieving this program. Is there a lot of float? Is there high confidence? What bias is there? And then the final step before you can start even running your model is mapping the risks to the activities where they will be impacted. So this is where your scheduler, your project manager really get involved. So as risk management, we facilitate the process, but our role is not to own every input and output. The project team at the end of the day have to deliver this. So that gets us all prepared, and then we can start using our software.
Great, thank you. And what is your understanding of qualitative versus quantitative risk assessments? When would you use one over the other?
So qualitative assessments get a bit of a bad press. They have their place. It's all about the maturity of your client or organisation you're working in. Qualitative ones, although they are full of bias and error and gut feel, give us an idea of what we need to prioritise. And if you've got a register of over 400 items, for example, bit of an exaggeration there, you couldn't quantify all of those, but it gives you an ability to filter out what you want to quantify next. But quantifying risk is definitely a better option if you want to understand how late you're going to be and have some science behind the numbers.
Great, thanks. And what's your approach in identifying and prioritizing project risks?
Ooh. Okay, so you use the objectives. What are you trying to achieve with this project, and which ones have the most impact on your objectives? So it could be the ones with the highest score. That just gives you a qualitative number that you can start prioritizing. It could be to do with their proximity, and it could be dependent on whether they're on the critical path. So it's not quite as simple as if you do 1, 2, 3, you get the answer that you need.
Great, thank you. What role does a risk register play in your workflow, and how do you maintain it?
So the risk register, as much as historically people used to say, if we do it once, we put it in the drawer and we never see it again. Depending on the complexity of the project, it could be weekly, bi-weekly, monthly maintained. It has to be maintained at any key decision point in any case, but it all depends on the complexity and the pace the project is working at.
Great, thank you. And with regards to risk workshops, what is your been your role? I'm sure you've been in countless, and what have the outcomes been in these risk workshops?
So it can be very different. When you're trying to quantify risks, obviously the output is to have a fully quantified risk register at the end. When it comes to the mapping workshops, we might just need to understand which schedule IDs are required for this model. It's very key that you make sure you have clear objectives at the beginning of what you want to achieve using the risk workshop. Otherwise, they do have a habit of growing arms and legs, especially if you've got strong personalities in the project leadership team.
Great, thank you. So I'm a project controls engineer looking to niche into a risk role. What are your final tips for me?
Okay, so I would say be curious. If there's an opportunity for you to shadow, take the notes. Some of my team, their first roles was taking the notes alongside me to understand how I manage different players in the room and how we deal with bias. Um, Look at there's some online training courses about quantitative risk analysis. Understand the basic terms, but a lot of the role really comes from hands-on experience of understanding how different projects and how different construction techniques work together.
Great, thank you. And where do you feel risk sits within the project controls wider discipline now and compared to before COVID? I've seen some dramatic changes.
Um, the risk discipline is even more in demand. The more uncertainty there is in the world, it's not just COVID. We've had Brexit, we've had a cost of living crisis. The more uncertainty, the more certainty people want to know. And we can't predict the future, but we can help people understand the outcomes that could potentially happen.
And final question, what's the future of risk? Where do you see it going and how do you stay updated?
Okay, so I see the future as we need to start embracing machine learning, AI. I know it's a cliche, but it is helping accelerate people's careers, understanding how the data is structured. Um, and it's inevitably going to be part of our workflow soon. So the sooner you understand it, the ahead of curve you will be.
Great. And if people are in risk now, what should they be following? What should they be doing to stay updated?
So I would keep an eye out on, not necessarily strictly speaking, obvious risk options. So Beyond Deadlines podcast, the Gen AI podcast, the Project Chatter ones, they're all very popular, but they all risk permeates so many elements of the project disciplines. It's just a great opportunity to understand different perspectives. And some people won't agree that risk management is the be all and end all.
Great. That's fantastic. Well, thanks for that. I'm sure our audience will get some great takeaways and learn a lot from this video. So thanks a lot for your time. Merry Christmas.
And you.